the steepest narrow gauge railroad grade in North America. Once again, folks, welcome aboard the Roaring Camp and Big Trees Narrow Gauge Railroad. Some of you might be hearing that term for the very first time today and asking yourself, what does narrow gauge mean? Well, in railroad terms, gauge refers to the distance between the two rails that we're riding on, and narrow gauge is any gauge narrower than the American standard gauge of 4 feet, 8.5 inches. This particular railroad happens to be 3-foot narrow gauge. This was the most common form of narrow gauge in the United States, fairly popular on logging and mining railroads. In fact, that big green locomotive up there was rescued from a coal mine in Dixiana, Virginia. It's good luck to name the locomotive after where she comes from. That's why we call her Miss Dixiana. It's painted right on her side. Dixiana is not like the typical type of steam locomotive that you may be familiar with from an old Western movie. She's what's known as a Shay-type locomotive, named for her inventor, Ephraim Shay, and she's got 3 big cylinders all on that right-hand side, connected to drive shafts, turning gears on each wheel. Now this makes her a very powerful all-wheel drive locomotive. All that power does come at a bit of a sacrifice, however, because her top speed is just about 15 miles an hour. But that's okay, because she wasn't built to haul fast passenger trains across the country. She was built to do exactly what you're going to see her do here today: haul heavy loads up steep grades at slow speeds. Surrounding our train now are the tallest trees in the world. They're also some of the oldest too. These are the California coastal redwoods, and scientifically these trees are known as Sequoia sempervirens, which translates to the ever-living redwood. These trees have an average height of 250 feet, but they can grow to be 380 feet tall, and an average age of 750 years old. But these trees can live to be 2,200 years old, making them older than the calendar we currently use. But folks, the genetics on these trees are older than any calendar ever used. See, the main way that these trees reproduce is through their roots. You might notice when you have a blue forest today, you see a large tree surrounded by several smaller trees. These small nursery trees are all genetically identical to that mother tree and are sprouted up from the roots. The root systems on these trees can live to be 10,000 years old, making them the oldest living things on the planet Earth. Crossing over Indian Creek Trestle. This trestle is 42 feet tall and has the tightest radius curve of any wooden trestle on the entire North American continent. This is that's right. We'll go over it again later. So remember to remain seated to get some ground lines. And before we can get in the air. Feet we travel forward, we're going to be rising 8.5 feet. Now, if you're suddenly getting flashbacks to your high school geometry class, pretty good reason for that. Because this is rise over run in real life. And now, folks, if I can have you all turn your attention up towards the front of the train where that locomotive is up there. And then look back here towards the rear of the train where I am waving at you. That locomotive up there is currently about 3 stories above where I'm standing right now. That doesn't look that extreme because we're all on the grade 2, but if you were to stand off to the side of this train and look up at it, you'd see that we're literally climbing up the side of a mountain right now. just having a great time and blowing that whistle for fun. But what you just heard, that long, short, long, is what's known as a grade crossing signal. Federal Railroad Administration requires that that 50-week mark at all railroad crossings, regardless if you're crossing a busy highway or a dirt road, not to be excluded with other crossings. So next time you get woken up by a train passing through your neighborhood in the middle of the night, don't get mad at the engineer for blowing that whistle. He's just trying to keep his job. And now at this time, I'm going to be passing up to the train here to check your ticket, so please have them out ready for me.
They're like, get off.
We happened to be running trains that day. We had a train stranded at the top of the mountain with no way to get her back down. What we did was to build a system of switchbacks, a very common practice on logging railroads, so it fit right in here at Roaring Camp. What's going to happen up here, we're going to pull forward to clear a switch that's currently ahead of our train. I'm going to get off on the rear of the train, line the switch behind us, and then we're going to back you up the switchback. When we get to the top, our fireman's going to get off the locomotive up there, line another switch ahead of our train, and then we're going to continue climbing in the forward direction. Now, in 1976, here at Roaring Camp, we were fairly confident in the abilities of our steam locomotives, so we didn't take too many measurements. 6 months later, when construction was complete, we found out that we had accidentally built the steepest narrow gauge railroad grade in North America, coming in at 10.5%, and we're going to be backing you up that grade here momentarily. of the mountain, let's talk a little bit about poison oak identification. Leaves of 3, let it be. This refers to the fact that poison oak grows in leaves of 3. You'll see it all through here. The only problem with this though, there's another plant that also grows in leaves of 3 that conveniently loves to grow right next to poison oak. That's the wild blackberry bush. How do we tell the two apart? Well, poison oak's only defense mechanism is this. Nasty oil on it that gives you that terrible red. The berry bush doesn't have this oil. Its defense mechanism is that it grows little thorns that look like hairs on the stems. The way to remember this is, leaves of 3, let it be. But, if it's hairy, it's a berry. As we back up the switchback here today, folks, just remember to remain seated and listen to the sounds that old Dixiana is going to make as she backs us up this steep grade. This is one of the only places in the entire world you can hear a steam locomotive work this hard. We made it! Welcome to Hallelujah Junction. We call it that here because the first time we tried to bring a train up this grade, we didn't make it. It actually took 9 attempts to get the first train up this grade, and when we finally made it, the engineer yelled Hallelujah, and the name stuck. Now that name still holds true to this day, because even today, we don't always make it up here in one try. So your engine crew up there put on a great show for you today, got you up here in one shot. As we pull out of Hallelujah Junction here today, those of you on the left-hand side of the train are going to have an excellent view of the switchback and see all the elevation we gained. For those of you on the right, don't worry. You'll be getting the same exact view when we turn our train around and come back down the mountain today.
We're on the left, right?
I know.
So I was like, well, right now.
Looking that way, we're
And I also like to point out the sandstone wall that's on the right-hand side of the train here as we're pulling out. Point it out because most people take it for granted. That's up right side. Now to put that grade that we backed this train up into perspective for you, a normal standard gauge railroad like Union Pacific, Amtrak, or Caltrain, well, they consider a 2.5% grade to be absolutely extreme. So we dispatched this train of a 10.5% grade on the locomotive that got you here, 111 years old. Folks, the railroad that you're riding on today is considered to be one of the most extreme in the entire country in terms of tight curves and steep grades. In fact, it's said that you can get a train up and down this steep railroad almost anywhere in the world. About the two guys up in the cab of that locomotive up there today. Here on the right-hand side, we have Phil. He's your locomotive engineer. He's the one controlling the speed of this train, getting us up the mountain and blowing the whistle. And on the left-hand side of the cab today, we have Tony. He's your fireman. His job is to keep that fire hot. Rather than that boiler, to make the steam for Phil to use to get us up the mountain. There's also a little leaking from the one-way elevator, too. Now, speaking of that fire that Tony's making for us up there today, you might notice that there are any really thick biggest railroad in the country, decided that wasn't for me, went to work for a little short line freight railroad, and then, as luck would have it, Roaring Camp took over the little short line I was working for, and I ended up here by accident with the best railroad job in the world, because I get to work this train, the beach train, and the freight train, all for Roaring Camp. Never did the same thing 2 years in a row. The really cool part about it, though, this train that we're riding today was the very first train I ever rode at 3 years old that made me want to go into railroading in the first place. So things do come full circle, by accident too. If this forest was never logged, why is there a railroad here? And to answer that question, we have to go back to the year 1958. At that time, a man named Norman Clark came to this area from Los Angeles. And believe it or not, he liked trains. And he had this dream of starting a tourist railroad to preserve steam locomotives, which at that time were being scrapped. And he parked his car at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk and walked 7 miles up the Southern Pacific Railroad tracks from Santa Cruz to Felton, and he decided that this would be the perfect place to start that dream. And he asked the Southern Pacific to sell him those tracks from Santa Cruz to Felton, and they refused. So he said, fine, I'll build my own railroad. This railroad. And it was a great success. But he never gave up on the dream of owning the line from Santa Cruz to Felton. And finally, in 1984, the Southern Pacific gave in and sold him those tracks. That's where we run the Santa Cruz Beach train now. Unfortunately, though, Norman didn't live long enough to see the first beach train run. He died just a few months before the first train made it to Santa Cruz. Today, his daughter, Lonnie Clark, is in charge here. She's our CEO. Roaring Camp is still family operated, and with Lonnie in charge, it makes Roaring Camp one of just 2 railroad companies in the entire country with a female CEO. Now, she's also fully qualified and regularly works as a steam locomotive fireman too. She learned how to do that as a teenager behind her dad's back, and that's another story.
Okay, I'll tag along and then I can watch you guys. Ryan and I are going to Hawaii in
Once we
May.
do come to the full and complete stop and hear one toot on the whistle, if you want to step off the train,
That's
stretch your
exciting.
legs, feel
That's
free to
super
do so.
exciting.
But
Are you
please,
excited?
return to the train when you hear 4 toots on the whistle. Because
Your
that's
costume.
Morse code to the letter H. And that means, hurry up, you're going to miss this train. If you wait too long,
Oh, I love
two toots on the whistle. Morse code to the
that. A
letter I.
star.
That means, we're leaving you behind.
Love that. You have to sing it? Or you just say the character? Fun. I like that.
The handle where the locomotive is now
Okay.
is a beautiful example of a cathedral grove. You'll see these trees all growing up in a circle around a mother stump. They're all genetically identical, and we estimate this grove to be about 1,200 years old.
Maybe get Mary right there.
Now, if you will be stepping off the train up here at Bear Mountain, remember the #1 rule of Bear Mountain is don't touch any plants. Because about 85% of what is growing out of the ground up here is poison oak. And if you happen to accidentally touch some of it, you're not going to know about it right away. But within about 4 hours, you'll start to develop a rash, which will eventually spread to your entire body and last 6 to 8 weeks. So yeah, don't touch any plants up here. For your convenience, up at the top of the hill in the little red building is a restroom. There is absolutely no reason to squat in the poison oak. I've seen that done before. All right. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, but you don't wear regular glasses. So they didn't tell us that the bear pads were on, and then we walked Frank into the door, and he stepped all over the bear pads. And they're like, well, because they're electric.
What is bear pads?
So where Capo's parents live, up in the mountains, up in Tahoe, there's bears everywhere.
Now, at this time, folks, you're probably curious about the types of brakes we use to slow down and stop our train. I know I would be. Well, we use a system here called the Westinghouse automatic air brake. This is actually the reverse of what you might think an air brake system is, in that we actually use the air pressure to release the brakes. This makes it a fail-safe system, so if we're traveling down this mountain today, and this train breaks in two, the air lines between the cars would instantly be severed, the air pressure would bleed off, and the brakes would automatically go into emergency, bringing this train to a stop, and we wouldn't have a roller coaster on our hands. Now, this system was invented by George Westinghouse in 1869. But, railroads being railroads, they were very reluctant to accept this newfangled technology, and didn't fully do so. 4 years later, the federal government passed the Railroad Safety Act. Air brake. In fact, this is still the same system used on modern trains today. But if you're wondering how we slowed trains down before we had air brakes, if you look to the ends of your cars, you might notice a steering wheel looking These are hand brakes. These days, they're just used as parking brakes to put our train away. But in the old days, there were people on these trains called brakemen. They got a special whistle signal. They would run through the train, turning these wheels to slow the train down. But in those days, they didn't have open-air passenger cars. These were boxcars. So these guys were running across the rooftops of boxcars, jumping between the cars at 40, 50 miles an hour, turning these wheels to slow the train down. And that made railroad brakemen the second most dangerous career in the world at that time, by pole lining. They lost an average of 10 men per week back then. But that's hard enough to line out and they're for you guys too. That's the right-hand side of the train's turn to see that switchback system and those burned-out trestles. As we return to the switchback, we continue our descent back down to the Narrate Canyon. Remember to remain seated, folks, as we're now backing you down the steepest narrow gauge railroad grade in North America.
We're going forward, taking it that way. Yeah, we're going forward.
I don't want it.
I mean, lucky about Ryan. Woo! Short, short, hold on. Oh no, we are going to. Okay. Oh, Daddy.
It was so scary.
Oh, well, Detroit, Peanut. She's Detroit. Can you tell Uncle Ryan about it?
I know, like,
Let Troy say that.
I love it. It was so much fun. I almost said
It's like when Ryan says they appreciate Ryan. Oh, is Ryan? Like, I guess she said like she
Before, we had a really terrible fire at this location back in 1976. But if you look around, you might notice that we still have trees growing in this location. And there's a couple of really good reasons for that. First is that redwood bark contains tannic acid. This makes it extremely resilient to fires, also makes it resistant to bugs and rot. But the other reason that you see trees in this location, particularly the smaller, younger trees, is that fire allows these trees to reproduce the other way that they know how to do so, and that is through their seeds. Under normal conditions in a forest like this, there's so much brush and redwood duff on the forest floor that it makes seed germination almost impossible. But when the fire rips through here and takes out all the brush, all of a sudden, these seeds can germinate, and we get all kinds of little baby redwoods sprouting up. Now this adds to the genetic diversity of this forest, which is very important. Because all the trees were genetically identical, and a disease will enter the forest if the trees happen to be susceptible to it, it could potentially wipe out the entire forest. Also, if you look at all the little skinny trees growing up around the burned out trestle here, they all sprouted up around 1977 after that fire. Gives you a pretty good idea of just how slow these trees grow. The coast redwood tree gains most of its vertical height in the first 100 years of growth, and after that, they just get fatter. Much like the conductor on this train. You might have also noticed as we were traveling through the forest today, she saw some redwood trees with hollowed out holes in their bases. These are called goose pens. And what this tells us is that at some point in that tree's life, it has been on fire. Now that fire burns so hot, it got through the protected redwood bark to the hardwood. For those trees leaning over this train up there, that's not really something you see every day.
I was saying that the lawn chips were...
Those trees haven't leaned over any more than they were when we first laid these tracks through here in the late 1950s. But as those trees continue to grow and get fatter, every 10 to 15 years or so, we have to push our tracks further and further over into that hillside. Because here in this forest, the trees have the right of way,
well, I guess
not the
it
trees.
was closed also for a long time.
Yeah.
So
It's really cool, man. It's really built out.
everyone likes the Super Mario restaurant. Yeah. So
I know. Like, we didn't know you needed to make reservations.
yeah, I don't know what's
So we did that.
well, we had to, the last time we were in Disneyland, we had to pay like to do the new snowball track.
If you're so inclined, you can take the morning trip out of Roaring Camp, take the evening train back, and get the full 5-hour layover and get really good and sunburned over there.
It's just like, it's all over the world. Now, Addie, you see how they're both looking over?
It is so peaceful here. I guess we did do this with Addie when she was really little.
You already what? Oh, you already saw it.
Addie was like,
Can you see the bridge?
over here. I'm like, let's see, maybe I was.
Yeah. Yeah, do you want me to tell you
Like
when we're on?
COVID made times like so strange. We were all like,
We're on the bridge.
No, we're not that.
Now, coming up here, folks, we're going to have a real show for you. We're going to make a brief stop to line a switch ahead of our train up here. Once we get rolling again, our fireman is going to do what's known as a blowdown procedure. This is done to clean sediment out of that boiler. If you've ever boiled an entire pot of water out of nothing,
Shootout.
like I did last night, you'd know that there's sediment left in the bottom of that pot. And this procedure cleans that out of our boiler. What you're going to see is a huge cloud of steam coming out of the left-hand side of the locomotive up here. think we're out of the woods now. And we've just reached the most dangerous part of our trip today. The return to civilization. We hope you enjoyed your trip with us. We do ask that you remain seated until we come to a full and complete stop in the depot. And you hear one toot on the whistle. If you enjoyed yourselves today, folks, my name is Kevin, and this has been the Redwood Forest Steam Train. If you didn't enjoy yourselves, I think it's really not that important. And this has been Amtrak. Thank you for riding.
Big blade. This thing is part of the old sawmill.
Once again, folks, please remain seated until we come to a full and complete stop in that depot. You hear one toot on the whistle. We do have to line up the old steam locomotive perfectly with that water tower. It takes a couple of tries sometimes.
And then the boys, so they've been really good to me. We had to talk to them. But I was like, yeah, I brought Sissy to have a walk earlier. Come down to the lobby with me. And I bring them down to the lobby and I get back up to them. I'm like, you can't take them anywhere, Sarah. And I was like, they were running in and out of the main door. It was opening up and trying to talk to the lady. And she says to me towards the end, she was like,
She's like, there's a trail
path.
out back if you
It's
want
like,